finishing up on this article, medical workers balk at mandatory flu vaccines. You can see we are having victories again and again and again when we try to achieve, when we say no to the system. When the system becomes so tyrannical, so over the top, out of control that people just stop and say, why am I doing this? And no, I'm not going to do this. And yes, I am going to stand up to the authorities. Tennessee-based Hospital Corporation of America, HCA, one of the leading U.S. healthcare chains, now requires, get this, 120,000 of its employees in 21 U.S. states to get seasonal flu shots. See, they are making the regular flu shot mandatory vaccines for healthcare workers. 120,000 people. Oh, but mandatory vaccinations don't exist, Jason. They're part of the fairy tales and unicorns and rainbows you talk about. Are you going to have a leprechaun on the show too, Jason? No, this is real. This is the real deal. Healthcare worker unions are challenging compulsory flu vaccination policies with some success. The University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics was ordered to halt its mandatory program this month after unions and nearly 5,000 employees there won 2 binding arbitration rulings that struck down the policy as a contract violation. Of course it's a contract violation. No one signs up to be injected with poison, folks. They just don't do it. That's not... So you're on a job interview and you're like, yeah, this sounds great. 50 hours a week. I really like the facility. You know, the boss doesn't go to you, well, there is a catch. We're going to be injecting you with poison on a, annual basis. I hope that's okay. Oh, of course. I'll take the job. Shoot me up with it right now. That doesn't happen. Last month, a New York judge sided with nurses union and issued a court order. Thank the Lord. Issued a court order against a statewide policy requiring flu shots for all medical workers. Days later, the state suspended its policy, saying the flu vaccine was too scarce to enforce. Damn straight it is. You don't see people wearing the paper masks out there. You don't see people overtly sick. It's all hype. I warned you about this when they first started hyping it up. Of course it's all hype. Critics of the mandatory immunization say the danger posed in hospitals by influenza pales in comparison to many other bugs lurking in medical facilities. Absolutely true. The CDC reports 1.7 million people are struck in each year by all manner of hospital-acquired infections, such as pneumonia, and 99,000 of those die. So again, their own numbers don't go with their hype machine. Moreover, seasonal flu vaccines prove largely ineffective in some years against the actual strains that emerge. Again, when they make these vaccines, they're not the same as the strains they're supposedly fighting. And I read some over-the-top propaganda out of Reuters last week where they were saying that Tamiflu was going to help you against the swine flu. Total lies. And that's an admitted lie. They've come out in several publications saying Tamiflu won't do anything for you. But again, it supports the pharmaceutical industry and it takes money out of your pocket and puts it into those of the elite, so they love it. They can't get enough of it. All right, let's start going to those calls I promised. Let's go to Darren in Canada. Darren, you're online.
Yeah, Jason, I hope I'm not repeating news that you already know, but I want to bring to your attention, I'm sure you know about in Canada, the past couple of weeks, they've been talking about bringing a unadjuvanted vaccine for pregnant women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this is directly off Health Canada and Public Health Canada frequently asked questions website, so it's not off somebody's blog or anything. The unadjuvanted vaccine will contain 50 micrograms of thimerosal, which is 10 times the amount in the adjuvanted vaccine. That's what you're not getting in the newspaper headlines. And this is directly off of Health Canada, so
And how insane is that, Darren, that they take out one form of poison and then they multiply the other form of poison by an exponential amount without even telling the people?
I know. Yeah, that's very crazy. Very crazy.
Well, Darren, I would appreciate if you could email us that ad. I'm sure you're doing it, but just keep doing it. RobD@Infowars.com is a good place. You can hit me up on my Facebook page, Facebook.com/TheInfoWarrior, or hit me up on my MySpace, MySpace.com/Jason Bermas. I do check that every day, and I get a lot of great tips. I thank you for the call. Thank you, man. All right, let's go to Cliff in Colorado. Cliff, you're on the line.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
So because Immortal Technique, Paris, and many others don't agree with colonialism, immigrant bashing, building walls, and breaking up families, we don't see the big picture?
No. Hold on. That's not what I said. What I said is that they don't see the big picture of what would be wrong with taking the United States and merging it with Canada and Mexico's governments. The people are not the problem. I have never said that the Mexican people are the problem or that the Latin people are the problem. In fact, I defend them constantly, saying that I would probably do the same thing in their position. What I don't think that they see, Cliff, is the fact that if we are able to grasp a union, kind of like the SPP agreements, the Security and Prosperity Partnerships, where we have 4 superhighways gutting through the country from the bottom of Mexico to the top of Canada, yes, that will change our very way of life. And I don't think that they get that. I don't think that they get that it will be an evolution, really, another step in global governance and a consolidation of power. Meanwhile, maybe the standard of living in Mexico does go up a little bit, but guess what? The standard of living in Canada and the United States would go down. That's my problem with that. And I'm a fan of those guys. I mean, I really am a fan of those guys, so I don't think they get it. Go ahead.
Well, I just think that the whole close the border, blame the victim stance, and which you're.
But who's blaming any victims?
You're kind of on the fence on that, but I think.
Wait, Cliff. You said blame the victims. What victims am I blaming here? I am not blaming the Mexican people. I'm not even advocating kicking out all the illegals. In fact, I would advocate that we would give all these people citizenship as soon as we close the border so that we wouldn't have even more of a spillover. But you can't just grant amnesty to 30 million people and then do nothing about the border situation. So another 30 million come into this country. And you can't tell me that wages are not driven down when somebody crosses a border and is willing to work for half of the minimum wage when someone else isn't. So many people out there say, oh, they're taking jobs that nobody wants. That is the biggest line of bull in the world. And let me tell you why. When I was a teenager, and probably when you were a teenager too, what kind of jobs could we get? Well, you could get a landscaping gig. Okay, you could work in a department store. You could work in a fast food restaurant. These were entry-level positions to get teenagers acclimated to the workforce. You don't see that anymore. That's the problem.
Well, I used to deliver newspapers when I was a kid. Kids can't get those jobs either. It's not because of immigrants. It's because adults are doing it because there's no work here.
But why are adults doing it, Cliff? They're doing it because they can't get those same jobs. Hold on, they can't get the same jobs I just discussed with benefits. You can't do it. You can't get the job as a landscaper at $9 or $10 an hour. You can't do it because there's someone willing to do it for $5 to $7 under the table. So you can't tell me that doesn't affect our economy. Look, man, I'm in the position that I don't want any kind of government infringing on the rights that are not given to us, but guaranteed to us because they are human rights in the Bill of Rights and Constitution. I don't want a lower living standard in this country. I grew up poor, man. I grew up on social services. I grew up bouncing around from apartment to apartment in pretty squalor conditions in some places. I never want to do that again. And I don't want to see that for more and more families in this country. I'm about protecting our own. And when I say our own, I'm not saying, white people or black people. I'm saying people who are in this country who know about the Constitution and Bill of Rights and who love freedom. And even all those dumbed down masses around us that don't know about that. If tomorrow we could merge with Canada and Mexico and we would have the same rights and the same type of government with actual checks and balances, which is really being eviscerated in this country, I probably wouldn't be against it. But you look at the people who are behind this globalist agenda, that are behind things like the Securities and Prosperity Partnership, you look at the crimes they committed, and you can't tell me that they have benevolent intentions. I mean, they don't, Cliff.
Agree completely, but I just think a better position would be that we should all unite, regardless of country of origin, against these, bankers, corporations, and the governments they control.
Well, I'm with you there, Cliff, but again, I don't see people seeing the bigger picture when they do that. They say things like, we need amnesty for illegal immigrants. We need health care for illegal immigrants. Look, we don't have health care for a lot of people in this country, and the health care they're about to offer with this bill is really death care and a new tax on the American citizen. So
undoubtedly, this health care plan is just, for the insurance companies, for the pharmaceutical companies. They're the ones that wrote it, basically.
Look, all I'm saying is this. You look at Alex Jones's Destroyed by Design, which he made in 1998. He made a lot of these predictions. They have all come true. We have no industry in this country anymore, and I am not against people of Latin descent or any other ethnic origin. I just happen to be against having people illegally come into my country, not pay taxes that I have to pay, and I've got to pay them. They can get pulled over and nothing happens. You're in Colorado, Cliff. You probably don't see it as much as I do, but now that I've moved down to Texas, and being from New York, you saw it every once in a while. And traveling the country, places like California and Arizona had a lot of illegal immigrants. I live in Little Mexico, man. I live 20 miles outside of Austin, and not one of my neighbors speaks English. When I talk to my neighbor, I have to talk slow and in big words. And when they're talking to me, I have to excuse myself sometimes because I don't understand what they're saying. I thank you for the call, Cliff. I just hope that you can get past the fact that I somehow am blaming it on the people. I'm not blaming it on the people. I'm blaming it on the system.